Hurricane Ian devastated Florida and now taking aim at the Carolinas and Georgia. Thanks so much for joining us here. It's Thursday night, 10 o'clock. Great to be with you. We've got a lot to talk about, Felicia, tonight, but we want to talk and show some of the pictures that we've been seeing of all the damage in Florida.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to see what's going on down there.
Right.
Streets literally turned into rivers and people just devastated, losing everything.
Yeah, that's for sure. In a moment, Kelly is going to update where this hurricane is heading next, and she'll also give you your central Indiana forecast as we all look forward to the weekend. But first, our Alice Barr shows us the dramatic cleanup that is underway right now after this devastating hurricane hit.
You can see it across the state in the stunning images of destruction. You can hear it in the desperation of those who made it through.
My chimney came down. I was afraid it was going to come through the roof and crush me.
President Biden making it official, declaring a major disaster in the state of Florida, surging money, supplies, and people to the region.
However long it takes, we're going to be there.
The president getting a briefing at FEMA headquarters, warning that while the numbers are still unclear, Hurricane Ian could be the deadliest in Florida history.
We're hearing early reports of what may be substantial loss of life.
The FEMA administrator heading to Florida tomorrow, stressing that the danger has not passed.
We are expecting the storm to continue making its way to Georgia, South Carolina, and into North Carolina, maintaining tropical storm force winds, deadly storm surge, and rainfall of up to 12 inches.
The danger is real, to state the obvious. Please obey all warnings and directions from emergency officials.
The devastation so overwhelming, the National Guard is sending in nearly 5,000 troops from 4 states. Search and rescue units heading in from all over, including Miami.
I can't send a better team.
And crews rolling in from across the country to restore power to more than 2.5 million people. Americans coming together, bringing light to a state in its darkest hour. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
DeSantis had an evening update with some numbers that were just stunning to think about. 700 confirmed rescues across the state of Florida. So you just know how many people were hunkered down. And then, of course, the storm passes and they've got to be rescued. 700 across the state, 2.6 million homes and businesses without power. At least one man confirmed dead tonight. DeSantis said Sanibel got hit with biblical storm surge. And it destroyed the only bridge in the Sanibel Island, and now it's on its way up the coast.
Yeah, I mean, this is something to keep in mind. I know not everybody has the luxury to be able to leave, but when you do stay, people have to come and rescue you. So they're putting their own life in danger as well. The great thing is that they have people from across the country that are descending upon Florida. A lot of native Hoosiers headed down there to try to help. So that's really awesome to see the mutual aid come together.
Yeah, we've talked about the American Red Cross sending a number of volunteers there. And it's so bad in Florida that Indiana Task Force 1, which is this group of firefighters and other rescue crews, they've sent a second wave of volunteers there to be down in Florida. They're going to be meeting tomorrow morning and then fanning out to go to the areas where they're needed most. So you know it's bad when they're calling in more people.
Yeah.
And National Guard members from Indiana also on the way down there with their choppers.
Yeah.
Perhaps airlifting people out?
Yeah, we spoke to a local utility worker, and he was saying that when things like this happens, the utility companies, they send out a call, they send out word to other utilities across the country, and they call it mutual aid, mutual assistance. And so then the local utility company asks, who would like to volunteer to go down? So even though they are being paid, they are asked by their bosses, essentially, they are still volunteering and risking their lives and leaving their own families to go and help others. So that's always good to see, inspiring.
So what is next for Hurricane Ian? Let's bring in Kelly Greene, who's been tracking this storm. So Kelly, where is it right now and where's it heading?
Well, right now it's off in the Atlantic, and here is the current radar look. This is our Jacksonville radar that's picking up all this reflectivity from this very strong storm, 75-mile-per-hour wind. So it's on the low end of a Cat 1 hurricane. However, still packing a punch here as it continues to gain strength, just sitting over the surface waters here that are relatively warm. Gaining that strength is likely going to upgrade at least another 5 to 10 miles per hour with this track as it starts to push off to the northeast. So let's look at some of the velocity. This is actually the wind speeds. So we've had a recent wind speed in St. Augustine, 45 miles per hour. Palm Coast, 48-mile-per-hour winds. St. Mary's, a 52-mile-per-hour wind. So it's still very strong even along the coast of Florida into Georgia. Power outages not as significant as they were from the actual hurricane on the southwestern portion of the peninsula of Florida, but we still have Daytona Beach with 76% of the residents there in that county without power, and Palm Coast 68.5. So this is really expansive. As we take a little wider look here, we have this area, Lee County, almost 100% is improving a bit, but areas in purple, that is 80 to 100% of the customers there without power. So just a significant storm. Looking at the past 2 days, actually I need to change that. This is actually the past 2 days of rain. This includes 18 and a half inches all the way this deep, this very dark swath. This is where the actual storm moved over, bringing all of that very heavy rain, tapping on the backside into more moisture once it got the Atlantic moisture to work with. Now, during the overnight, we are going to see this continuing to take a little bit more of a northwesterly turn, as a Category 1 should increase to about 80-mile-per-hour winds early tomorrow morning. Then it is forecasted to make its way to the coast of South Carolina specifically right now, but the impacts will include North Carolina and portions of Georgia as well. 80-mile-per-hour winds when it makes its way into the coastal areas of South Carolina. Then eventually, as it continues to push a bit off to the northwest, it'll start to downgrade into a tropical depression and then just a remnant low pressure system that may actually have some impacts here locally. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But taking a look again at this storm system, just a massive storm system that is also going to bring some storm surge along the coast of the Carolinas and Georgia. Is not significant, however, still nonetheless 1 to 3 feet of storm surge very possible along these areas. In fact, this forecast just has added a little bit higher for that 3-foot swath that will move in once the storm surge really increases. Now, the winds are also going to be significant. Again, 75 to 80-mile-per-hour winds will be the impacts. You can really see the definition here with that counterclockwise spin of this system, this massive system that's gaining strength once again, and Ian will gradually start to push off to the northwest later tomorrow. In the meantime, here back in central Indiana, we have been quiet. We've been cool than average, but those winds out of the northeast keeping us rather cool, but also dry. So humidity has been very low. Dew points have been very low. 49 degrees right now in Kokomo. It's 50 degrees in Columbus, 55 in Greencastle. The winds out of the northwest still sustained about 5 to 10 miles per hour, and they will stay up high enough and to prevent any frost. However, we don't expect to see any frost because temperatures are going to be a bit warmer than where they were this morning. Here's a look at the warming trend. We are going to see a bit of a warming trend over the course of the next few days. We're going to be talking about 70-degree weather. But during the overnight, still going to be chilly. Temperatures falling into those low 40s under clear skies. But again, not as cold as where they were this morning for many locations. So let me go ahead and move past this graphic. Sorry about that. Looks like I have an error here. Stand by here. I'm going to go ahead and get back into what we have here during the overnight. So I want you to take a look at these temperatures. We did drop into the upper 30s early this morning in many spots. So there was some patchy frost, but tomorrow morning, not as cold. 40 degrees will be the low in Lafayette, Kokomo, and Muncie. 45 in Indianapolis, and temperatures will be in those mid 40s for south central Indiana. But tomorrow really will be a very nice day. We'll see a lot of sunshine here in central Indiana with temperatures climbing to around 70 degrees tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow night, Operation Football kicks off, it's going to feel much more like football weather. We're going to see those temperatures falling into the mid to upper 50s by 9 p.m. with a mix of sun and clouds, I should say, overhead. Now, the remnants of Ian will start to move in a little bit closer over on Saturday and then having more impacts on Sunday. But you can actually see this counterclockwise flow. I've used some of the upper level winds on this map. So it's actually going to show that eventually we'll see some of that upper level wind mix down to the surface, and those winds will be mainly out of the north. However, it's still going to be a pleasant day as far as temperatures go here, but we are going to see those winds increasing, especially as we go into Sunday. Sustained winds could be anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour. We could also see some gusts around 25 to 30. Here's a look at future track putting precipitation and cloud coverage on. This is going to kick in some clouds, especially on Saturday and then into Sunday. We may actually have a couple of spotty showers. The best chance is going to be east central Indiana, but very light rain if we see any at all. But it's going to be the winds that are going to be the best impacts out of this storm. Of course, Sunday we have the Colts at home. Tennessee visiting us at Lucas Oil Stadium. Those winds will be out of the northeast, 10 to 15 miles per hour. A little bit breezy for those tailgates with that kickoff at 1 p.m. Saturday afternoon, high of 72. Sunday, really much of the same, back into the low 70s. And then taking a look at your 7-day forecast, we'll see highs in the upper 60s for tomorrow. For this weekend, again, we'll see the clouds increasing. The winds will also increase. I do think Sunday will be a bit windier than Saturday with gusts around 25 to 30 miles per hour, but mainly cloudy and likely rain-free. But as we go into next week, we're going to be in a quiet pattern. Temperatures still running a few degrees below average, but all in all, pretty pleasant work week.
Friday looks like a really nice day, Felicia.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Well, I got to say, Kelly, you have had quite a busy 48 hours. I mean, tracking the storms and then tracking the weather here.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's you know what, it's for us as meteorologists, it's just interesting to watch. It's fascinating while it is destructive. They're just incredible storm systems to watch a hurricane develop, take shape. They're slow moving. You know, we have obviously a lot of winter storms, and they're slow movers. They're my favorite to forecast because of all the different precipitation types. But when you look at a system like a tropical storm system, they just have so much time to gain strength, and then they can be slow movers. And that's what Ian has been, very slow moving and then gaining strength again to have another impact on the United States. It's just tremendously tragic.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the Sunday forecast because of that Colts game that you were talking about. Does it look rain-free enough that Jim Irsay may say, let's open up the roof and the window?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I really, I loved having the window and roof open, so I don't see why they wouldn't have it, except that it might be a little too breezy.
Yeah.
I don't think rain will be an issue.
Okay, interesting to know.
Oh, too breezy. I mean, that just really affects the game when we're talking about, I mean, that just has such a huge effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wow. I mean,
I'm a fan of having it open all the time, no matter how cold it is.
Right.
Now, wait a minute.
I think there'd be some fans like Felicia that might have an issue with that.
I'm coming from Chicago, the Bears, Soldier Field. I'm upset. You know, we redid our stadium not too long ago, and they didn't put a dome on there. So I like that you have the option, because if it's a blizzard, you know, I don't want to be sitting out there as a fan.
That's fair.
But if you're in a skybox, no worries.
It's a different story, isn't it? All right, well, thanks so much for joining the three of us tonight at 10 o'clock. We'll all be with you tonight in about 45 minutes. Over on Channel 13, we'll have the latest on Hurricane Ian for you then. Good night.